Hello, it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. That's another edition of the Shiny Developer Series live stream coming your way. My name is Eric, and as always, every time I do one of these on Wednesday, it's always been an eventful week and work and personal stuff. But yeah, happy to share some tidbits of the I don't know what to call it, battle or drag out fight with time zones, but I think I've emerged victorious. I'm going to give everybody a recap of what I stumbled upon, and oh Nelly, was it a doozy. But with a little JavaScript magic that admittedly I don't know why it works the way it does, at least most of it. I'm gonna share that and may feed into future content about understanding how that actually worked. And then we're gonna continue looking at that Shiny progression app that I've been working on that was inspired by Jesse Mastapak's tutorial and other discussions we've had in chat. And we're gonna kind of see what we can do to build some additional infrastructure around that and make that hopefully easy for people to get it started up front. Okay, so let's welcome in our friendly chat here. We got Daniel and Unicorn Coder here. Thanks for joining, both of you. Always great to have an audience, and you will be unwillingly seeing my test and prod of some OBS stuff to kind of liven things up a little bit. I've ever since I stumbled upon those awesome breakthroughs of my OBS setup, I'm always gonna push the envelope a little bit, and more to come in that space. Oh, Cheese Bacon, how are you? Thanks for joining. Always great to have you. We're gonna do some more shiny fun, recapping some wins in debugging land and doing some fun application development for learning, and a little break along the way. First, I was very excited earlier this week. Was it earlier this week? I only lost track of time because know if those of you saw my tweet earlier, but this lovely thing is in my possession now in hard copy by Colin Fay and the team at ThinkR, engineering production grade shiny apps. I've been waiting for this for a while, so I'm gonna keep that safe. I'm gonna have lots of reading on that and sections that I haven't even been able to dive into even on the website, but looking forward to putting some of those principles in action. And I have no shortage of places to apply those in, whether it's the projects like shinycal, shiny Lego, or at work I got 2 or 3 projects that I've neglected a little bit with app development, and I want to start righting some wrongs there that I had in that space. All right, well, let's dive into some things. Let me get my fancy setup going. Buttons still work, and here comes the magic of that dummy third monitor. We don't need to watch Twitter right now, but we are going to show you all the new and improved shinycal. Oh, it messed up my window size again. Hold on, this is all on the fly tweaking too. I haven't got a macro set up to do the resizing with chat, so we're just gonna keep resizing that a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it's amazing how things blow up that you don't expect on Twitter. I'll just leave it at that. So let's take a look at what shinycal looks like, and of course there'll be egg in my face if this doesn't actually load this time. I've already had to reboot the deployed version once. Hopefully I don't have to reboot it again. Alright, that's a good sign. Now you may have seen something flash there in a little, very quickly that changed on the fly. We'll get to that in a little bit. But it really doesn't look that much different, but it's all the right time zone. So we are right here in my time zone. It's 10:09 p.m. America, New York, but if we go to our friends on the West Coast, Los Angeles, everything shifts up the right way. It's 7:09-ish p.m. Pacific time, And this is the part that was supremely broken for, what's it been, a month and a half? I don't even remember how long it's been. And every time I tried to patch it, I broke something else. Now, there is one nagging thing. I'm sure some of you noticed this. Maybe haven't said it yet in Discord. This little blue line here should not be here. It should be up here if we're doing Pacific time. I tried fixing that part too, and that's where things extremely broke. So I am okay with this little paper cut right now, because let's face it, you go to see where the times are for your favorite streamers online, not necessarily what your current time is. But yeah, we've got all the time zones here. We can even look at Chicago. That should work just as well. Yep, that's 9-ish p.m. Central. Yeah, the blue line. It's nagging me. Trust me, it's nagging me, Daniel, but I've almost had enough of the time zone stuff for now. There's lots of important things to work on in this app. I want to get rid of it. There may be an option in Toast UI, the widget package I'm using, to suppress that. I haven't fully explored it yet, but I do like that idea. Until I can fix it, just wipe it out. Because if you're looking at this on your computer or your phone and you don't know what time it is, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do for you. So yeah, that's that. Everything else is basically the same. We can change the view type, day view. And I made sure that this also works when you switch time zones. So if we go back to, so Phoenix or something, you can see it's Pacific time, basically, and that still shifts it accordingly. So good enough, good enough. Yeah, time zones are ugly. I appreciate services that do this for other things. The reason I sometimes do the day view, Daniel, is because there is sometimes a lot of stuff happening, and for a particular day, and the day view is a really nice way to kind of see it. Like here, we've got 2 streams going tomorrow at this time, but then on Sunday is when we really start seeing a bunch of stuff, right? All the way at early in the morning on Sunday, all the way till about the evening. So there's lots of fun stuff happening. Okay, now how did we get here? How did this nasty bug get solved? Well, let's dive into that a little bit. So let's bring in our friendly VS Code editor. Zoom right here. There are very prominent, knowledgeable Linux streamers that do this exact method for sharing windows, so I don't feel as bad about it. Martin Wimpress does the same thing. Okay, so let's look at shinycal. Yes, I am gonna plug that in, Unicorn Coder. I admit I've been a little behind on that, but we will get there. So the story goes like this. I knew, like what all other calendar things do, whether it's your email client, like Outlook, or Google Calendar, or some of these other ones, even Nextcloud has a calendar app. What they all do, rightfully so, is they detect what time zone you're in. Makes sense, right? I never had done that yet. I had never figured out how to grab, say, Daniel, when you visit the app, your time zone, or Unicorn Coder, when you visit the app, your time zone. I had no idea how to do that. Well, a lot of searching on Stack Overflow got me to basically this point. Combined with some R and Shiny integrations, there were people that asked in their Shiny apps, how can they detect from the client side how to get to the user's time zone? Every solution that was actually robust ended up with some custom JavaScript, and this is going to be something I want to translate into my own words in a little more cognitive way as I continue going through David Granjan's outstanding Shiny UI book. That'll be the next one. I'm super excited about to get in print whenever that happens. So I will try to translate this as best I can. There probably was Python code somewhere, but I will admit, last time I tried to put reticulate with a Shiny app, I kind of fell on my face. So I'm actually happy with this JavaScript solution. But apparently in JavaScript, native JavaScript, this is like not getting into any of the frameworks or whatever, there are date objects that you can grab. And then what this is doing here is we're defining some variables, and I believe what this is doing, and you'll see it later in the app UI section, is we're basically declaring these are matching some input IDs in the Shiny app. So we're going to have 3 of these we'll get to in a little bit, but I'm just calling them target, offset, and time zone. And then basically we define for each of these 2 slots. Again, I'm just narrating based on what I think is happening, but I could be completely wrong in how to explain this. So for offset, we want to define a value, and this D object, this date object, has a function method called get time zone offset. Now each time zone, I've learned, has a particular set of offset minutes or hours, however you want to measure it, compared to the UTC or GMT times. And maybe one of those or both, I don't know. But this is going to grab that natively with JavaScript based on where the user is coming from. And then I think I had to put in this little trigger slot to say I've changed something. I don't know if I really need that, but it was in the post, I just copy pasted it. Likewise, this target one, this is getting the user's time, and that's to locale string. So I think it's getting it into a human readable time slot. And then I trigger that as well. But then there's the last one. This is the really important one, the time zone. Now this is a little different. It's not using that date object. We're using this INTL object, which is something I believe is somewhat new per 2018 or so. But that has a handy datetime format. So you get it into a datetime format, and then there's some method called resolved options, and then that has something, a slot called time zone. This right here is going to get you that plain text character representation of the user's time zone, like America/New York or America/Los Angeles, whatever have you. This here is now built into native JavaScript. I don't believe this was the case more than a few years ago, because there were people trying to use some custom modules to do it, but then some people on Stack Overflow said, hey, wait a second, you can just use this instead. And that was the ticket to get things going. Afton, hello, how are you? Welcome, always great to have you. We're recapping my time zone knockout dragout battle that I've been on for over a week, ever since Jessie in her stream pulled up my famous shinycal and saw that her starting time was totally botched last week. And I was like, I can't have that anymore. We've got to solve it. So basically every night since, I've crammed some research, and then last night I hit the breakthrough, albeit it was quite late at night when I made that final commit. And then you all saw my message this morning on the Discord channel saying, please test this. I really hope it works. So what do we do with this JavaScript stuff? Here's where, again, more interesting learning here. In my app UI, this is the main app UI here. This is not even getting into module stuff yet. We set up, oh, actually, I don't even, oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. This is a clever little trick. Apparently, in order to get that JavaScript stuff to actually execute, much like Shiny itself, you need stuff for it to depend on in your app somewhere for it to execute. And the way we do that here is we custom write our HTML here. I could have actually done a Shiny text input. You can see it says input type equal text, gives it the ID which matches. In fact, let me move this to the right so you can see it next to it. This matches the IDs that I put here. So that was one learning, is that these things here with a hash in front of it are like input IDs in native JavaScript compared to Shiny. Again, I'm abusing the terminology. That's what I want to get better at. Give it a simple name. But here's the kicker. Display none. This is CSS to say, I'm going to put this here, but don't dare show it. It's still in the app. If you view the page source, I think you'll see it. But you will not see it when you see the app rendered in real time. So this was the trick to get that JavaScript stuff to execute in that little script we just made. So these are here. Otherwise, the rest of the app UI is not changed at all. It's just that those 3 little placeholders. Yes, Unicorn Coder, I will do that. Let me zoom in. Where is my zoom? There it is. All right. Let's see. Hope that helps. I will minimize that a little bit. So we got these inputs, these phantom inputs that actually won't be directly manipulated from the user. They're manipulated on app startup. So we got that going. Okay, next we look at the app server. What are we actually going to do with those? Open file. I thought there was a... Oh, okay. I used to have a shortcut to open that to the right. Oh, open to the side. There it is. Yep. Okay. So... Sorry, it's all jumbled up here. Okay. So app server, let's move this here. We don't need this now. So app server, some of this I don't think I need. I just took it anyway because at this point I was desperate. This is from one of the posts to make a phantom output to give the server time. I think that was because someone else wanted to display the server time in their app. So anyway, I don't do anything with it. I just kept it. These are the amazing things. So I like this trick in my Shiny apps now, is this session object, which typically gets passed as a third argument to your server-side functions, whether it's your main app server or your module server files. Well, in that, you can have a slot called user data. This user data slot is kind of like an empty box for you to lay in certain objects, and then you can refer to them no matter where you are in the app. That's a handy little trick that just should not go without stating it like I just did, because you could use that to your advantage in really big apps where you have to share stuff without necessarily making it a function parameter. Is it the right solution for everything? Absolutely not, but it's a nice thing for in a pinch to share something quick. So the clever trick that I found in the Stack Overflow post is that we can make these reactives as well. Yes, Isomorph, yeah, first welcome. And yes, this comes with the session object. You can use this to your advantage. I've put things like little scalars of like integers or character strings, or even full-blown lists of stuff, data frames. I've thrown a lot of stuff in here. But here, we're only going to throw 3 things here. They are reactives corresponding to those phantom inputs that are basically populated by JavaScript and not by the user. And 2 of these I don't even really use right now. They're just here in case I do. The first one is this client time, which is just basically getting the client's server time in like the calendar notation and the timestamp notation. Very basic. I don't use it yet, but maybe I will. This one I don't use right now, but I'd imagine I will if I try to figure out that phantom blue line junk happening in the calendar render, is that I am getting what that offset value is for that user's time zone. I'm convinced I have to use that somewhere to fix that current time nonsense, but I'm not doing it yet because, again, I was up really late last night. I'm done with time zones. I am just putting a bow on it before I move on to other cool things. This one, however, is the one I'm going to use. Client zone. This is, again, that human readable character notation from JavaScript of their time zone. I'm pretty sure, Daniel, that blue line is not causing havoc elsewhere, but we'll run this again and we'll explore it. So that's all that's new in the server side, is establishing these user data slots for these 3 reactives, of which only one I'm using. Now comes where the major refactoring took place, is in modcal viewer. This is going to look a lot different than the last time you saw it. And for this, we're going to look at it on both sides, because we're going to look at UI stuff and server stuff at the same time. So the time zone widget looks largely the same, a picker input from Shiny Widgets. But notice what I did here. I gave it a choice of a phantom silly value called nothing. And that's it. Reason I do this is I want to update this right after the app loads based on those session time zone slot from user data, and populate it then. And since that's a reactive thing, maybe it didn't have to be reactive, that's another story. I can't do it here right away because I can't reference reactives in an app UI. You'll get that what used to be the infamous object or type closure is not subsettable, or some other thing about trying to do something in a non-reactive context. So my trick is to just render it as something silly at first, but then to update it later on. So we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. And then we'll get to what happened here. First step was that I used to put this munging of the schedule data in a reactive itself or an observe event. Here, since this is not depending on anything in terms of what the user is selecting, this munging is basically just unnesting the schedule data from the list column and then just mapping certain things to it. Everything else is kind of the same. And the video thing's basically the same. We're not going to get into that. That's just debugging stuff there. Okay, here we go. On initial load, I do an observe event. When this is populated, i.e. when the app just starts up, that JavaScript stuff is just executed, we're going to do stuff with it. Here's what we're doing. The first thing we're doing is we're updating another input that was earlier about the streamers that are selectable, which was right here where I did the same trick. I did it as nothing at first, but because that depends on the data being loaded, I wait till here to just kind of do it right away and that observe event. And here's the other. Okay, so here's the other one. This is the meat of it right here. Update picker input. Many of the inputs in Shiny have update functions. So you have to give it the session object, the input ID, and if you're doing a module, keep this in mind, you do not namespace it for mysterious reasons that I still don't remember. But what you do is you feed in your choices, which we have from another, that's a function that's run based on Unicorn Coder's awesome HTML file of the time zone data, but then selected, it's basically referencing that reactive, which would be America Los Angeles, America New York, whatever have you. So that is being populated about a half second or a second after the app loads. I can't remember the exact timing, but it happens there. And then things get really interesting because now we've got to apply that client time zone, i.e. the ones that all of you are currently in when you view the app, to the schedule data so that the schedule data is as if it was made with your time zone in mind. And we've had this code before, but the key difference is that now we have a new zone to deal with, which was defined based on your client's time zone. Now, when I make the data, it's originally based in America and New York time. So that's why I keep this as a rich zone here. But the new zone is going to be yours. Everything else basically remains the same. And then we update a reactive value. We call a cal display df with the contents of this. And that's defined up here where it's nothing right now. So all this is nothing until we update it. Now, but there's still more to this puzzle. Now, we have to keep track of when the user actually changes the time zone on their own in the app itself. That's another observe event, and intuitively it's just the input for that time zone. Now we need that existing data that was populated, that what I call the cal display data frame. But here's the trick though. This observe event will actually render even when I made that silly choice of nothing in the app startup. Just to recap, that's up here. When this is rendered initially, it'll look like this. So that meant I had to do some error checking here, where if that was the selection because it was that very first render, don't do anything here, just return nothing. But if we don't have that happen, we have a valid time zone, then we have to do some little tricks here. First, we have to get what was previously selected as a time zone, and that might be your client's time zone, or it might be another time zone that you had in the drop-down earlier. Hey Tan, welcome back. I am recapping my time zone saga, which I did solve after a real knockout, drag-out fight last night, and we're going through the aftermath right now. So we grab what was there before, and if this is not null, then I update. So this is kind of like the client time version of it. But if it was changed previously, i.e. the reactive of it, then we grab what the reactive was of it instead. And then if that selection in the dropdown is not the same as what it was before, then we do basically that exact same manipulation, except we just change a couple things. It's that same type of call, which could be put into another function, but again, Eric was lazy last night. The original zone is that previous selection or that previous value. The new zone is the new selection. That right there, these two lines right here, cost me an hour and a half last night after I couldn't quite get it worked out. But once I did it in my head, then I knew it was a quick switch, but just getting it in my head was not easy. So then cal display df is now updated to that new version of the display df. And then the good news is most of this can remain the same in terms of the display object for the calendar itself, with one minor tweak is that I apply the background and font color stuff in this step, whereas before I applied it in the previous data munging steps, which didn't make a lot of sense. Now it's only applied here. So it's basically the same code as before. We preserve the streamers who have already told me what color they want, i.e. Afton, you still get your favorite teal in your widget there. But everyone else can be changed with the drop downs. So, you know, I look out for those that give me preferences. And then I do some stuff with the filters. That's pretty self-explanatory. But this, okay, well, we'll look at this. I'm gonna move this over to the other side because this is where I lost most of my time, was the blue line stuff. I've narrated in my comments so that future me can look at this. And there is an issue for... Well, I hope it's not... Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Daniel, you know there's a way to do it, right? If you go... let's jump there real quick. I do want to talk to you about this, because if you all have preferences for what you want to do for your colors, all you have to do is go to the streamer data repo, find your, oh, not that folder, it's the YAML files folder, and this is what we did for Afton. You just give me these two values, BG color and color. Those correspond to your background color in hex notation, and in plain text, tell me your font color. So just give me a PR of your favorite values in your file. You just have to add them yourself, and you'll be good to go. So that's that. Okay, so just to recap for those that didn't see this, or weren't, this is the repo for your streamer data. Sorry, I gotta move my mouse here. There we go. So whenever you want, give me a PR and I'll be glad to put that in. All right, back to the part where the good news about this stuff is that I made a commit before I tried this adventure, so that I knew I could go back to have it working last night when I tried to be slick with the blue line nonsense. So basically, if this is changed somehow, where I try to put the time zone in this block here with the selection that the user makes, it got destroyed. That's what Jesse was seeing last week. That's what others are seeing. Is I tried that out after trying to fix it for Daniel earlier, and I thought I solved it, but no, it did not, because it broke everyone else. So this is where I attempted it. I'm clearly doing it wrong, but it's here for I can go back to it later. But for now, that blue line's just going to stay at your current time zone, and I could care less right now, because this thing being solved is literally the, if this app can't do the time zone conversion, it is worthless to me. So having that solved is good enough. So then just to put a bow on this, here is, oh, and of course I do the wrong shell. Oh, that is gonna irk me. Always do that. Anyway, let me boot it up properly. There we go. I'll make that bigger to see. Let's run the app one more time. Should not be any breaks here. So yes, I'm in, of course, the Eastern time zone, America, New York. And this is where everything is. So yay, everything works. But again, to show some that joined late, I go to Los Angeles. Everything is shifted correctly. I start at 7 p.m. Pacific time, but it still thinks that it's 10:37 p.m. instead. Blah. Done with it. Just done with it. Squash it. Destroy it. I don't care. Daniel has a good idea. Maybe I can hide it. I will look into that later. Now, the trick I found that's outside of Shiny, but it will be very useful for testing Shiny apps, is I have found a way to augment my current development container with a framework in Node.js called Puppeteer. Puppeteer is a headless browsing framework for testing any kind of web app. And that I have not put into the repo proper yet, but where I did put it is right here. I do not have enough knowledge to give you a crash course in Puppeteer tonight. But this was a doozy. This was a doozy. Monica, hello, welcome back. Always great to have you. We're recapping my battle with time zones in the shinycal app that I think I finally conquered, and I'm going to call it good enough. But I'm going to show you a geeky thing that I stumbled on last night, or not last night. This has been a week in the making, but a whole bunch of searching on Node.js stuff, on Docker container stuff. There is a slick way that I can test this app running in a separate R process with this Puppeteer thing in VS Code on the spot. So if you don't believe me, watch what I'm about to do here. I have a handy function somewhere in here. Where did I put it? It should be in my R folder, I think. Or is it in my dev script? It's somewhere. Anyway, I have a function that... Where did I put it? No, I'm lost myself. Not here. Is it in prototyping? What did I do with it? What did I do with it? There it is. There it is. I have a simple function. Well, it's actually not a function. It's just some code. I will run the app in a separate process in the console. So let's try this. Now, don't worry about the warnings here. That's just what Shiny does when it thinks I have a package and it doesn't really know it. This app is running in a local process right now on port 8765 of my local host. Now, let's go to fish. Actually, let's do a new fish shell because I completely borked that one. Let's go to prototyping. And in my script, let me close some junk here. I will run this JavaScript. That's not the right one. Where'd it go? I must have closed it. Hold on. There. We're going to launch Puppeteer to give a headless browser session, and we're just going to take some screenshots. That's based, but here's the real cool part. I figured out for a lot of searching how to emulate different time zones in this without changing my time zone on my main computer. This is really cool. I didn't think this was possible, but somebody did a blog post about it. And once I got Puppeteer ready to go, I basically test now 4 time zones in this Puppeteer framework. I test my time zone, test Jesse's time zone, I test Denver's time zone. I'm sure somebody is in Denver, and good old Pacific Coast like Afton and others in Los Angeles. And for each time, I go to a certain web page to verify that it's in that time zone, but I also go to my app and then I take a screenshot. So let's see this in action. This is really fun. I love doing this. So node, emulate time zone. And you'll notice it's, oh, you're kidding. What? Oh, wait a minute. I know what I have to do. It's working directory stuff. Don't panic here. Don't panic. All right. Yeah, I have to do it from the root. That was close. Okay. So you're not going to see a lot of messages here because I'm still not skilled enough in JavaScript to do the message stuff like I do in R. But we're going to pay attention to a screenshots folder. I'm going to let this kind of refresh until we get all of them, but I believe the New York one should be done. I don't have time. Yeah, it should be getting close. I wait like a few seconds before I complete the whole thing. But we can boot up the New York one now. There's the app. Looks a little fuzzy on here because I can zoom in a little bit. But that's the app. But let's look at another one. Let's look at LA. Well, it's not that one. It's this one. Look at that. Look at that. Oops, let me see if I can scroll here. That shows my stream starting at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So that right there is how I verify without nagging so many people late at night other than early in the morning this morning because I wanted to make sure it worked for reals. That's how I was able to nail down what happened to Jesse last week. This was awesome. That is an... Oh, okay, Daniel is always a sharp dude, Daniel. Why on earth is this blue line correct when I do it this way? I think that blue line, this widget, this HTML widget for Toast UI, is mapping to the current time zone of the client browser, no matter what. So I would be confident if I found a way in Puppeteer to change the time zone in this browsing session to like America, New York, it would probably have the same problem. That is probably what's happening, but again, I could care less. Yeah, Afton, that's the thing. I don't know how yet. It will be fixed at some point, but I want to move on with my life. So I'm gonna keep it as is, or I'm gonna try and hide it. Probably the best thing to do is to hide it until I can really fix it. I just don't know how yet. But the learning from me in this journey was that now my previous experience for testing Shiny apps has been through the Shiny test package that's built on Phantom.js.
Thank you for the follow.
Well, I see I have a little issue with desktop audio. Hold on, folks. Let me get that. Where was that? That's in one of my... Yeah, sorry for that. I had a little echo on my end. But it's cool. So I think I've got it. Yeah, thanks. It wasn't, I know, that's because of the intermission stuff that's about to happen. I forgot to mute it. Yeah, okay, good. Well, there could be worse things that go wrong with OBS, right? So anyway, this testing via another framework is something I've been wanting to do at other projects for a long time. Because sometimes Shiny tests might not be able to do everything, and maybe there are times you just want to look at the app at a high level and just use another solution to do it. So it's always good to have like multiple tools in your toolbox. I think this is really fun. Like I'm super excited for this. I'll just be honest. I'm super excited for it. So big learnings here. That's the recap of the time zone saga. And until I fix that blue line, it won't be fully complete, but you know what? It does the job now. And what we can move on in future sessions is styling this thing up a bit. I know Unicorn Coder, you had some great feedback on doing padding around to make it a little more pleasing for responsiveness and stuff. That's all coming. This was just getting the plumbing done so that now I can move on with my Shiny dev life. So shinycal is in a good spot. So good. And always feel free to file more things on the issue tracker as we go forward. Just to recap for those that may not have that. Let me go back to my, oops, I'm in my, need to get to my Phantom. There we are. That is right here. Feel free to peruse that, and all feedback's welcome. You know what, Afton? I wish my only problems today were cats on keyboards. I've had a few situations at home today that. Anyway. Okay, Isomore, great question. How does Puppeteer compare to our Selenium? So Selenium itself, I think, does a slightly different take on testing. Our Selenium is the R package that's a wrapper to it. In the R space for Puppeteer, there isn't quite a wrapper for it specifically, other than what Colin Fay's working on as like a prototype. But they do similar things. I think they just go about it a little differently. I will say that getting our Selenium set up was not easy. I think it's changed maintainers about a year ago or so, and I haven't played with it since like 5 years ago. But there is some movement with like these headless browsing with Chrome itself, which Puppeteer is based on. And there's even other ones. There's some R packages called Chromote, I believe. And like I said, Colin Fay is trying another wrapper to it that's specialized with Puppeteer as well, or Puppeteer-like syntax. But yeah, okay, so Daniel, good question. Is this a good case for Shiny test? there will be parts where Shiny Test is more than valuable. I think when I start testing other parts of the app, absolutely. But I will say this, I don't know how in R itself in Shiny Test I could have pulled off what I just did with this Phantom time zone changing trick. That's unless I inject custom JavaScript in it, but at that point you might as well stick with a JavaScript framework for testing. Well, okay, Isomore, but that's one thing to note is that all of this is in Docker still. In fact, all this Puppeteer stuff, all this RDev stuff is in the same development container. Now, of course, if I deploy shinycal to a production environment that's based in Docker, I'm going to rebuild a container that just has the shinycal stuff. It'll strip out all the other Node.js bits and pieces that aren't needed. That's actually good practice based on a great webinar that my friend Martin, who's at Slim AI, that I was previously a guest on in one of their earlier streams. They had a cool little webinar or live stream on Twitch actually about a data-driven kind of rundown of container structures and where do they see some of the biggest gaps or the biggest issues. And they had data to show that all the containers that we build for like development environments tend to have way more bloat and way more vulnerabilities than those that are fit for purpose for a specialized topic or a specialized area. So this container I'm in now is definitely not suitable for production, but it sure as heck is suitable for development. So there's some good nuances there. I haven't fully digested all of it yet, but that was a great stream by Martin and Aisha, that was their data scientist at that group. So, and I have it on good authority. They used R to generate their plots. In fact, let's look at that real quick. I believe, yep, this is it right here. What we discovered analyzing the top 100 public container images. And the graphs here, I have it on pretty good authority that they were built with R. They don't say specifically here, but it was hinted at strongly by the folks behind this blog. So really good stuff. If you want to read this at your spare time, I will put that in the chat as well. And of course, I put it in the wrong spot. Come on, come on. So I watched this, most of this live this afternoon after my meeting ended, and yeah, I was active and asking some questions and giving some interesting insights on the data here. But yeah, some containers are really bloated and they require a lot more time to scan their contents than those that are smaller. So really cool stuff. Yeah, welcome. Sorry, my box is Letjor. Hopefully, I'm not saying that too badly. If you're new to R, welcome. I'm certainly biased in this, but we have many people here in the chat that are passionate about R as well, and we use it for all things data science and application development, package development, and all that good stuff. So yeah, welcome aboard. Okay. So hopefully I didn't take too long with that shinycal recap, but that was a week's worth of work that I just narrated in about 45 minutes or so. When I solve something, I do get excited, and I'm also on the verge of solving something really gnarly at work with the Viz Network package for creating network diagrams and making a cool little Shiny app to do it. Yeah, that's been another interesting story. So I'm gonna get things set up real quick with where we go next. We're gonna clean up after ourselves here. We're going to stop the R process, but you notice the app was still running. It just doesn't show up here, but it was running in the background, and in my Puppeteer session was navigating to this address basically. Before, in the Puppeteer thing, I was only navigating to the Shiny Apps IO deployment, but it didn't make a lot of sense. That's like the finished product. I should be able to access what I'm running in development. So once I got the Node.js stuff sorted out in the container, then I just had to make sure I exposed the port correctly. Yeah, lots of learning on that. Lots of geeky learning there. Okay, so we're gonna clean up after ourselves here. We will close this container. And I will get the other one open. That's going to be called Shiny Learning. And we're going to kind of just leave that here for a little bit because it is time for our intermission, I'll call it. And this intermission is going to double as a test of my OBS tricks here. And there's at least one person on this stream right now who's going to get a real kick out of this trick here. Because we are going to do a little gaming. Gaming of a game that I have very fond skills with. And I'm going to boot it up. You'll hear a little double audio for a second here, but I will fix that shortly. Come on, come on. All right, whoa, that was odd. Okay, okay, let me switch my scenes. All right, I'm back. Hopefully you hear me now. I forgot to add the mic scene. See, this is why we do beta testing. Okay, can you all hear me now? Okay, good. Now let me try this a bit. Oh, there's echo there. That was not there before. Can you hear the music now or not? Do you hear any game music at all? Nope, okay. So, let's try this. Okay. Are you hearing music with echo or are you hearing music normally? Does it sound crazy or does it sound like normal? Normal music, okay. The crazy stuff's from my end. Okay, I'll have to figure out how to fix that on my end in the future, but... Oh, echo? Okay, alright. Alright. Hold on. Let me think here. No, that echo's not part of the game. See, that echo wasn't there when I was doing this myself. Sounded pretty cool. How am I going to solve that? It's coming from somewhere, but I don't know where exactly. Oh, I might know where. No, it's not coming from there. That's muted. Okay. Well, we'll do it without. We'll bring in my other music, the other source until I sort that out. Let me bring in the other audio from the other source. Hold on. Where's my... Okay, so we got the Ever Gaming music here, so we'll just have to go with this for now. I will fix that next time. All right. So, some of you may have seen the VODs of this, but Monica certainly knows what I'm about to do because she has been with that racing league with me and Martin and all of our friendly gang here. And I'm going to bump this up to expert mode. Let's do 5 laps. Go to one of my favorite tracks, Casino Run. Oh, that's gonna bug me. I need to figure out how to solve that voice stuff next time. But we're gonna get in. I'm gonna pick my favorite driver, named Toshiro. R400 Sport. Nice little race car here. You know what? I might know what the issue is. Let me hold on a second. Let me fix something real quick. Bear with me. I'm gonna go to audio properties. Okay, we're gonna try this. Hold on a second, everybody. Okay. Now, do you hear other music now? Or do you not hear it? Does it sound like another song? Or are you still not hearing it? Yes, I fixed it. Okay. Alright, now you get to hear Hotshot Racing in all of its glory. Here we go. If it's too loud, let me know and I'll bump the volume down. Here we go. I love this game. Martin got me hooked on it, and I put a few hours into it. Just a few. And we're not going to let the AI win. So in this game, it's very much inspired by the arcade racers of the 90s and 80s, like virtual racing, like Daytona. You grew up when I did. And so it's not exactly meant for realism. It's meant for high-octane arcade action here. And the key is knowing how to drift and use your boost accordingly. So that's what that meter is in the lower right. And you can get your boost meter up when you drift or when you go behind other cars. So we're gonna let these two AIs have their fun for a little bit, but I will get them in a little bit. And they're using their boost apparently. But the graphics are really good. I mean, they're retro style, which is just my thing. And of course I bungled that turn. But we're gonna fix that. Every race is eventful with these things. And that Keiko, driving the F1 car, they're not gonna beat me. So far my system's still holding up, so I feel like I may have figured out some of this. Whoa. Who's that? That's Mike. So one of the inside jokes we've had in our racing league is that all the cars that Mike drives are absolutely terrible. And I have a Shiny app that lets you pick the cars randomly. And whenever that came up, there were a lot of groans amongst our racers here. But in the AI version of Mike, he's a handful to deal with, so I have to put him in his place. And boost there, put him in his place here. So we're in good shape. We're in lap 4. First position. Gotta drift well. Know how to drift. Boost when you need to. Yep, we're in good shape. My controller is going to have to be replaced pretty soon because I pushed the right trigger button so much that it's kind of fading on me a little bit. So I pretty much memorized all the tracks, so that's why I'm able to turn without too much fuss. Final lap time. Oh, I've put a good distance between me and the AI bots. This might be one of my better finishes, actually. Let's crank it up a bit. Oh, I hit a wall there. That no. Okay, they're still in the dust. A racing game. Oh wow, that I've looked at the chat. That's what I get for looking at the chat. That's the only thing that can derail me is looking at chat when I'm driving. But we're still gonna win. That's why. Okay, boost is at the right time. So I made that interesting. That should have been a very comfortable victory, but you know, I was positioning the chat in the upper left and a little distracted there. I made a lot of money. Yeah, that should have been a 3-second finish. I'm gonna do one more. I don't want to end on that. That was a nasty. Okay, let's do one more track. Do my son's favorite track. That is Heated Highway. That's a good one too. After this, we'll get back to coding. I promise. But, you know, I need my fun. What do I want to do to now? Marcus always has good cars. My head's blocking that. I'll have to move that sometime. Let's do the vector. Yeah.
The ultimate blend.
Oh, Dino Dash. Yeah. 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 So literally, Monica. Whenever my son sees me practicing, he makes me do this track. Literally makes me do it. And you'll see why. Or for the rest of you will see why, I'm sure, in a little bit. Let's put these people where they belong, in the dust. It's a big turn here, so you gotta time that just right. Time that right. Okay, it's a little feisty here. A little boost action. This is a big turn here. Here comes his favorite part. It's lava, baby. We're in the volcano. Living dangerously, right? Alright. Lap 2. Toshiro's in the lead. And then the big turn. This track's not quite as long as Casino Run, so it will be over soon. Uh-oh, I didn't drift well there. Whoa. You all just kind of snuck out on me, didn't you? Yeah, let's get through the lava again. Get out of my way, Toshiro. Good drift going. So while I'm doing this, I've shared this in long ago streams, but when Monica and I were racing with our friends in the racing league, after each race, me and my friend Yannick would take screenshots of the standings, and we both independently made scraping scripts, mine in R and his in Python, I believe, or PHP, I should say, to get those numbers and feed it into a database, because we are over-engineering all this stuff. So if we do the racing league again in a few weeks, then we're going to do that all over again, and I need to make my stuff even better. So I did bring Shiny into a racing league competition because I can. There's that boost. Got one more lap. Can I hold him off? I think I can. Pushing 200. Now this turn's got to be careful. Good. Whoop, just avoided disaster there. And we have saved up all our boosts for the right time. Alright. Uh-oh. Whoa! Ooh, I narrow avoided disaster there. Boom, we're done. Alright. Whew. And I got a new vehicle palette. Good. And I'm racking up the achievements because I lost them when Steam crashed on me a month or two ago. Okay, that's good. I think that's enough racing then. Alright. Let's get back. Hold on. Alright. We are back. Let's go back to our coding. Whew. We'll get back our music. That was fun, wasn't it? Okay. We'll make that more interactive next time. I'm thinking of doing some custom channel points for other breaks. I know of a new platform to help with some of that, so. Okay, I gotta catch up on some of the things I missed. I know there was some interest in cat voices. Oh yeah, the new racing game. I heard about that, Monica. I saw Yannick and Martin do that earlier today. So looking at a text-based adventure. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, let's get a repo. We could do fun with that. Okay. Yeah, I always have the little adrenaline rush after those finishes. That game's just addicting, though. I tell you, it's just addicting. Okay. So let's recap where we left off with the Shiny Learning project. Let me resize stuff just a bit. Give ourselves a new R terminal here. And we'll run the app. Oh, looks like I messed up my code from last time. Let me see. What did I mess up? Obj nav links not found. Oh wait, where am I? Hold on a second. No, I have to refresh my memory. I know what we did last time. Oh, I know. We have to run it like this, I think. Yeah. Pretty sure that's what does it. Run it this way. Okay, we're back in business. Okay, so where we left off is we have kind of the basic skeleton of a framework with the brochure package to kind of give the bones of an overall app that shows kind of like maybe your prototyping stage to some refinement to like your production version, if you will. So all this really is we have links at the top, and then every link actually corresponds to a different app. That one obviously not found because I took out that link there. And we basically have kind of hard-coded that. In fact, I'll take out this one right here since that's not needed. We basically generated these apps manually just to prove out that this idea might work. What I want to explore with the time we have is figuring out a way to bootstrap separate directories in this overall umbrella that correspond to these different apps. So right now they're just in this in the same root as the local directory where the app is. I want to figure out a way to make separate Shiny apps in folders, not too dissimilar to when you're in our studio itself and you click like new Shiny app, and it makes you that folder of the app with either the app.r file or the UI and server.r files. I wanted to kind of do that through code. And then we're going to use like the first folder it makes as like your first stage app. But the other secret cool part we want to do is that each of these subfolders of these individual apps are going to have their own Git repo, because we want to kind of treat it as something where you could, in theory, lift the first app's repo to the second one to the third one, and have a cohesive kind of development story through Git commits, as well as it being in this one place. Now that's the radical part. I don't know if it'll work, but I think it could be really cool. So what I want to do now is first tidy up this example up a little bit. I want to make folders for these two apps. So right now we just have them here. I want to, let me get this zoomed a little bit. I want to make their, I'm going to call this page 1, make their page 2. I'm going to move those files in there. So yeah, it is kind of like chaining apps, but this brochure package gives you a way to have one shiny process overall, but have sub-processes inside corresponding to these separate apps. Whereas before, you would have to do like all in one code base. It's still in one code base, but it's treated differently. It's kind of a radical example. But it's experimental, so Colin even gives a big warning: don't use this in production. But you know what? If Jacqueline Nolis can use it for GGIRL, why can't I use it for this project? So to recap what the brochure package is, this is how I always search for stuff. I'll put this in the chat if you all want to follow along. Yeah, GGIRL was awesome, but that is like the use case that opened my eyes to what this brochure package could do. It's a mechanism. Brochure is a mechanism for making multi-page shiny apps, and that you could access them through custom URLs and have your main app kind of route things back and forth. He has a blog post, Colin has a blog post narrating kind of why he's doing this. But it sounds like it stemmed from some real projects, but I hope to not to get too far ahead of myself, but I have a feeling you'll be hearing from Colin again pretty soon. Let's just leave it at that. So anyway, let's get back to the app. Now, basically, what I want to do is, instead of sourcing these in the, let's finish my thought here. I'm going to move page1.r into the page1 directory. My cursors. And same thing for page 2. Okay, so now we should not have, but I think I need to move that page 1 intro into page 1. Whoops. Anything else in here that's, okay, now it's just app.r in the main repo. But I need to now go to page 1 and make sure that my my file, or this probably isn't going to work as is. Let's do a test. I have a feeling I know why. Let's try it out first. Yep, something went haywire there. Oh, silly me, I forgot to do this. F0, fond memories of F0. Alright. Yep. So this is what packages like the here package are meant to solve, is directory paths or file paths when you're in kind of these nested structures. So I gotta fix that. But this is good. This is actually good practice for the real deal. Let me first make sure I have the here package. Yep, we do. It's 101. So I think here, you know, I see here used so much, but I don't remember all the nuts and bolts of how to use it. Now I wonder if I do a special file called .here in this apps directory, if that's good enough to trick it. You know what? Let's give it a shot. I'm just trying stuff new tonight, so. Page 1. .here. Alright, so now this. I use that term probably too much, a unicorn coder, I admit. But now I'm referring to the package itself, so I'll try to make that clear. Now, oh wait, is this the right way to do it? No, I don't think this is. Well, maybe it is. We'll find out. No, it's not. Oh, the hurry here package thinks it's still in the root of it. Okay, so it didn't quite get the job done. Oh, it's walked upwards. Oh, so it's always going to start at the root. Oh, okay, okay. How do I solve that here? See, I use that term again. Like I don't want to hard code that path to it. I want to make it so that it is as if you were running this app from this directory. But I've got to figure out how to set that. Now there's another package that's more lower level for this, and that's called rgarage root. This might be what I have to do. This is a little different. Let me open up the link to it. All related files containing a subdirectory to be characterized. Okay. Let's see if there's anything special in vignettes. Basically want to trick it. Start the search in any subdirectory. Oh, you mean the theme of it? Yeah, the package down sites are typically like this. I guess I could do some browser sessions and play with this a bit more. It's not quite intuitive to me yet. But we can even just do it in here. It doesn't really matter where we are when we do this. Let's just do it here. And replicate the setup. Okay, we're here. So we made it here, but I want to... I'm using that term again. We're in this place. Okay. Now what functions... Oh, it doesn't let me auto-complete that. Oh, that's odd. Okay. Let's look at the help of it. Okay. Find it. That's probably not going to work. I want to just maybe I can experiment with some of these. Oh, what's the criterion? Oh, that's going to drive me nuts. I know what game this is from. Oh, it's on Genesis. Shoot 'em up. That's going to drive me nuts. Alright. Yeah, this is getting complicated. There's gotta be an easier way to do what I'm trying to do here. Wanna... Like I thought it would... Yeah, because it knows I'm in the top level. There's gotta be a way. This is similar to a situation with our markdown files where you have like subdirectories with files and you have to make sure it goes to the right place to find it. I know this has been solved in other situations, but how do I get it so that it can change the working directory based on the presence of another file? That's what I'm trying to solve now. My solution won't really work well if I can't get this part dealt with. Shaw, you know who's going to come after me if I do that. Come on now, Daniel. Just curious if I can use anything. I may be making this too hard. I'm not sure. Yeah, I may be making this too hard. All these are in the context of package development or from vignettes. All right. Well, we're gonna... If I can somehow detect whether I'm running this in the same directory as the sub app or the main app. What is this giving me? Well, we can do this, maybe. No, that's not really gonna help. Ugh. This is crazy. It's crazy. Wait, our proj root has file. Oh, what is that? What's that do? Ah. Wonder if that's what I need. Let's just see what this gives me. Well, it's a weird print, but what's the result of that? Huh? Just root contain. Oh, am I supposed to use that somehow? I feel like I'm... Oh, that's a S3 class. Oh boy. Fix file. Oh, this is pretty interesting. I mean, I know this is a tough problem to solve. It's a very odd thing. Oh wait, we were trying this before. Is the directory the project root? Subdirectories to start the oh, we've been looking at this help already. Maybe we already looked at this. I need to go back to that vignette. Oh, it was find root. Oh, okay, maybe this is it. No root directory found. Well, but it's always assuming we're starting at the top. That's the problem. It's not assuming we're starting there. Or maybe there's a more of a functional way to do this. So obviously we can put any parameters we want since we made a module out of this. What we could do, get rid of some nonsense here. This function is here. Okay, I might know what we have to do. Actually, we're going to put that in the definition here. And say if this is not specified, then I'm sure it's a better way to do it, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Actually, I don't need to do that here. I might get rid of this stuff. I'm gonna make that here. Use that word again. Now that's gonna be in my sleep now. I'm gonna specify that. At this point, it's a real hack job, but it might work. Let's see. Put the browser here again just to make sure that path gets called correctly. Okay. Oh wait, it's not an absolute path. Oh, no, that's gonna mess up. Oops, ran out of my cursor there. All right. Let's see, that should do it. Yes. Okay, let's try it out. Let's see that thing. Yay, we got it. Okay, it's kind of a hack job, but what I ended up doing is I just added an extra parameter to the module file to detect. And now the really, well, there's, I'll have to think about another thing later, but that at least solved that issue. So anytime we have separate files that need to be sourced in that main app or in that sub app, we need to do this. So I'm going to put that same parameter in the call module. This won't do anything in this case, but we'll just make sure it works. Yes, I will definitely do that. Going to, in fact, what we should do is I should have the Roxygen comments here. keep that there for now. I'll move it over here at some point, but at least I have it somewhere, so... Okay. Let's make sure this works. No more browser. Yep, that's just fine. Okay. Okay, so what I'm assuming here is that these sub apps, I am making a bit of a leap here in that they are modules, but they don't necessarily have to be. But it's just kind of cleaner that way for the big picture if they are. I don't know if I'm going to pay a heavy price for that. But the brochure package kind of expects, to go back to that for a second, the brochure package kind of expects that each UI and server have functions just like a regular Shiny app. I guess they don't have to be modules, do they? They could just be custom functions. So that's something I might think about down the road is maybe in fact, I'm now even convincing myself. I'm just such a module fan, sometimes people don't want to use that right away in these sub apps. This does not have to be that. So what I could do is actually change this. We can change it so that it's not a module. Now I believe because brochure is going to take care of running these as separate processes, that there won't be a problem with namespace collisions. But you know what? Actually, before we do this, this is a big shift. We need to commit what we've done so that I can restore back if this really goes crazy here. So let me add all this. I don't need that here thing, but restructure. Folders. Okay. Now we're gonna have that in the back of our plate, but we're gonna change this up. It's not gonna be a module anymore. As much as that kind of pains me internally, this will not be a module anymore, and it'll just have this. And then we're going to just take out the namespace stuff. This can stay the same. In fact, yeah, this can be exactly the same. Then this just becomes this. But now, instead of call module, it's just going to be page one server. I think, yep, that should do it. Let's see if this still works. We've changed the structure a little bit, but let's see if it pays off. Oh, there's a reference to NS that I forgot about. Yep, right there. Don't need that anymore. Okay. Let's move that to the other view. Okay. Yay, this still works. Now here comes a test. We're going to do the same thing with the other app, and we're going to intentionally name two inputs the same thing. And we're going to see if brochure avoids the problem of what modules have been solving for like main apps of having input names be the same or not. Because you can't have two inputs of the same name. So we're going to solve that now and see if our work pays off here. I did here again. All right. Okay, wipe out the namespace stuff. That should be the same. Not going to worry about the file stuff. So this now becomes we can just call this about arguments. Oh, I have an error somewhere. We will. I'm just gonna call that. Where's the error? Where is it? Thinks it's somewhere here. Oh, missing parentheses. Okay, I know I took some parentheses out. And I take too many out. This fluid row looks good. This fluid row looks good. This fluid row looks good. What did that match up to? The tag list. Oh, we have like... Oh, we have an extra one here. That's bizarre. Okay, take out the extra one. Okay. Now, both of these pages here have an input called plot, or in this case, an output. So, this will be a true test. Will this work? Okay, fixed all that. Fixed all that. All right, let's see. Okay, let's make that bigger. Okay, this plot shows up just fine. And it nailed it. Okay, that's a huge win here. What that means is that brochure, because these apps are literally treated as separate R processes in this main umbrella of brochure, they can have overlapping input and output slot names. That is a huge win. That means, as much as I'm a module fan of that structure, we don't have to force users to use it. These can now just become basically regular R functions for the app UI and the app server. And now it's all kind of coming together a little bit. Where in my dynamic functions, I write these out. If I give it a prefix like page 1, it can create functions like this on the fly based on templates, and then let the user open them up and populate them, much like Golem does with modules, and much like Use This does for files that it creates as part of package development. So, okay. So it may look very minor here, but we just saw a huge value of brochure in that these sub-apps can have these same input and output containers. That is really, really cool. Okay, let's commit that before I forget. There we go. Away from algos of the sun. Mimic real world usage. Alright. Good. Good, good, good. Alright. I think I admit there's one thing I'm really curious about that works that I might try next with the time I have left. It's going to involve another package. One that's actually gotten a lot of good buzz lately. Let me go to that. This is the GERT package, which is very useful for doing Git operations from R. I think we mentioned this in last week's stream. This is kind of like a slightly different take on what the Git to R package does, but there was something in here that caught my attention. Oh, hi, Yuka. Welcome. Oh, it's always great to have you. I'm on one thing left before I wind down, but I'm curious if it works. So you're at the right time. Although you did miss my OBS testing with my fun intermission break that we got working eventually, but you all got a glimpse of my my racing exploits, and I got first place in both times. Haha. Now, I know I saw a function in this package that does what we call sub-modules. And I wonder if I put that in my other app repo. Yeah, let me go back to the learning one. Wow, I have too many repos. No. Shiny learning, that's the one. Okay. I know I put issues here based on what we talked about. Leverage Git submodules, okay. Oh, I didn't actually put the function reference, but I could have sworn I saw submodules somewhere. Let me look at their Git repo. I know I saw it. It's a matter of... Okay, it's this script here. Git submodule list, git submodule init. Why wasn't that? That must be from a new version. Oh, okay, well, this is important. This is important. This is from the dev version of GERT. Okay. Let me see in my VS Code session which one I have. 141. The repo has 141.9000, but when was that function added? That's not helping much. Okay. Clear, I need to upgrade it. So let's upgrade it. This is under our open sci, or our lib. This is under our lib. Oh, good thing I checked that. Okay. Oh. This is not an RM project, is it? Rats. Okay. I remember I did that on purpose. Okay, well. This may derail things a little bit, but I will show you what happens in my container setup when I forget to include packages. All right, where did I install Gert? Right there. After that, we have to do it here. Yes, we are looking at the whale here, if you will. Now, this is going to run some other stuff, but you know what? Hey, you all like to see some fun terminal action. You're about to. Let me get out of this. We'll close this. Yep, Moby time. I knew you were going to pick up on that. We will rebuild. And it should just rebuild starting at that step. Of course, my mug is hiding the link. There we go. Yeah, so it's pulling all the packages again. So they are binary though, so it will be pretty quick. Although I can hear it in somebody's probably in their head. I should use pack for this. I didn't put pack in the container yet for this project, so that's for the future. So let's do some reading first while we wait for this. I remember I was going to show something, but I forgot what. I was going to do research on something while we were doing some processing. Thanks, Monica. I'll be wrapping up soon as well. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you could see some of my racing exploits. So I had somebody who could vouch for me that I'm a racer at heart. Let's see what I want to... Yeah, me too. We tried last Sunday, but the network was not kind to us on the game servers. We hope that's rectified, but I did notice in Steam tonight it pulled an update to Hotshot Racing. So cross our fingers that does it. So, all right. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. It's actually one of you brought this up way early on, and I wanted to do a plug for, and I've advertised this a little bit, but my big kind of surprise, if you will, from that I was referring to kind of vaguely earlier this week, is now the R Weekly podcast has a brand new host, and this is obviously not refreshed. There it is, Mike Thomas. His picture's not on here, but he has joined me for episode 41, which we just recorded yesterday. Yeah, Unicorn Coder, you're the one that brought it up. Yep, thanks. You had some good feedback, it looks like. There are some audio kinks we're working out because we used a new platform. Not new to me, but we've used it a little bit. And it was a great episode. I know Afton, you haven't quite listened to it yet. I do actually, with this being kind of like a new era, I'll call it, I'm going to try and make the back-end processing a bit better, and I do have plans to put this on a YouTube channel so that if you like YouTube content, you'll get it there. It'll just be the audio but with a little visual to make it a little spicy. But I did that with the main podcast, and definitely more people than I expected listened to or watch it that way. So where I put it in YouTube is a different story, because I could either do it under my account, or I could even do it under the R Weekly YouTube account, which frankly I have the keys for if I want to put stuff there. So I might talk to the fellow curators to see if they like that idea. But in the end, it was a great episode. The show notes have kind of the more of the stuff we're talking about. And yes, Afton, mini spoiler, you are talked about extensively in the last segment. But yeah, that was good fun. So congrats to Mike for joining me on that. Looks like this is still processing a bit. Mike's a natural for this. We're just going to work on the audio levels a little bit. We were a little hot in certain parts, but we're gonna iron that out. We're all just kind of getting to know the platform a bit. But one of the reasons I'm really excited about this is that has it been like, when I start that thing? It's been almost 10 years since I started my first adventure in podcasting. And frankly, up to this point, at least for that segment of what I've done, it has always been a solo effort. And when I mean solo, it means like I take on the content creation hat, the production hat, the pre-work hat, the pub, all the other hats, if you will, maintaining stuff like this. With Mike coming on board, it reinvigorates me a little bit, because this stuff, even though this episode is a bit longer because we're trying stuff out, but for something that's less than half an hour usually, it is a lot of work to bring it up, especially on your own. So the fact that I got some help along the way is extremely, extremely helpful. I'm really excited for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And actually, Mike wasn't even the only one that contacted me. I had a couple other people reach out, nice people reach out. Mike happened to be the first one, so I got in touch with him, and I was blown away. And the other ones I'm going to keep in touch with too, because they might be helpful in other ventures later. So yeah, it was fun. Well, lots of good stuff. Why on earth is this taking so long? This may put a damper into our plans, but it's getting Microsoft Debian files, which again should not take that long, but maybe that's just a sign that maybe I need to figure stuff out. Oh, there it goes. Now it's finally doing it. Yeah, rotating co-host. Thought about it. Some podcasts do that. Others, they get like a flow with their current host. I'm gonna ride this out obviously a bit longer and see where that takes us. But like I said, I have other ventures that could benefit from additional voices as well. One that's been on hiatus for over a year that I think needs new life in more ways than one. And that's where I could maybe leverage the others as well. So, okay, we are finally done with this. Now we can get our terminal going here. Yes, okay. Why does... Oh, I know why. I think in VS Code, I have to rebuild the help server to let that show up. But let me go back to Firefox. Go back to what I searched for. I forgot what the function was actually called. Get submodule in it. Let's look at the help for that. Oh, a prefix, a namespace prefixing. This came up the other day. There it is. Okay, we finally have it. Okay. Interact with submodules in the repository. I want to make one. I just want to try creating one and seeing what happens. So we're gonna do it in a silly directory to start with. We'll do it within the prototyping folder if I have it. Yep, I have something here. Okay. So let me make that when we get a new terminal going. Okay. We're gonna go back here. Let's just try doing it. I don't know why it did double slashes, but it did. Huh? Oh, I'm doing the wrong arguments, I guess. Oh, there's a what is a submodule object supposed to be? Name of the sub. Oh, okay. Path. Does it have a path argument? Oh, repo. Oh. How does this work then? Seems a little odd. I would expect that when you, or do I do this within the within the directory? Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. So let's at the risk of maybe getting my house set on fire, let's go in there. Now let's try it. Oh, maybe this works a little differently, Daniel. I was trying to just add a submodule in here, like starting a fresh one. Maybe that's not the right way to do it. Get submodule update. Okay. Let me look at the rest of those functions. Let's see if there's oh, it's submodule add. Maybe that's it. This might be the one. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to do this. But it needs... Well, that's what I was trying to do, Daniel. I was doing to get some module in it in this function to do it. But it didn't really take. It just said no. Like, I know I don't have one named that yet. Let me see if... Oh, and that doesn't add a new file. Oh, okay, okay. I was saying that a like test for it. And it doesn't add to the new repo. Maybe there's a better way to do it. This is something I know I've done a little bit with Basegit before, but I haven't done it with R wrappers around it. So that's probably going to be a good place to call it a night, because I'm going down a little rabbit hole there, and I'm running out of steam here. But I will commit my changes to the development container. I'll try it on the command line first. We'll see what happens. But install dev version. Sure. Okay, let's try it from the command line just for kicks. It's some go add, but I need a URL for that. Or should I change in there? Now that worked just fine, right? Look at that. Well, no, it didn't really do anything though. Maybe not. Okay, well, you know what? Call it a night. Now that's going to take some more research. Definitely a different path of thinking than the JavaScript stuff I did last night. So let's clean up around here. All right. Close up shop. VS Code is now back to normal. But we had some wins tonight. I think yeah, it's midnight here. That's why I'm shutting down. I went a little over. I got a little greedy with the Git stuff after that. But yeah, Detroit's not far where I grew up. So, yep, what we learned tonight is you heard about my recap of the time zone saga, which again I think is mostly solved, but thanks Daniel and others for the tips on how I might deal with the infamous blue line in the in the widget. And you saw my exploits in racing, which I might do next time as well. And then we have proved out that you don't need to have modules to have brochure work out of the box, which will be big to give users a very intuitive way to make their apps in this learning Shiny framework. Now I just gotta solve the version control stuff, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So, all right. Well, you know how to find me, hopefully, but this place is on Twitter at the Rcast. Check out the Shiny Developer Series. Still in the editing stage of the interview I did about a week or so ago. And yeah, there's some new guests coming on, some returning friends. There's a reason I keep showing this book. That's a big hit. So we're gonna have lots of fun with that. Okay, well, you all have a great night. I'm not sure if I'll be streaming tomorrow night because my kids are on what's called fall break, which means no school tomorrow and Friday, which means I'm probably a lot busier just trying to keep them entertained. So we'll see. I'll update accordingly, nonetheless. But you all have a nice night. Take care, and see you on the interwebs, social media, and other streams. So take care. Bye, everybody.